Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we help families of people going through the college planning process just figure this out and just make this process a lot simpler. We always talk about the fact that a lot of times getting into college, people make it a lot harder than it needs to be. And we like to dumb this down and just help you feel like you got this handled. So I'm Kristen Clark. I'm a career exploration coach for 16 to 26-year-olds. I'm here with Bobby Hood, our ACT/SAT guru. And yeah, and Christy, I always have to read your name to say it, but Christy Sharafinski, there we go. It's rolling around the bottom. But she is a essay coach. And today what we're going to start talking about is insiders conversations about applying to college. So Christy, welcome.
Thank you. And it's such a good conversation because the biggest thing is parents don't know what they don't know, and it's going to cost them, right?
For sure. Yes.
Yeah. Now that's really great. And I'm excited to have you here, Christy, because, I tutor for SAT and ACT and other tests, but when I started doing that, I actually trained as a college admissions advisor, right, as part of my training at the Princeton Review. But I prefer not to actually do it, right, because I want my students to work with people who specialize in it and do it full time, like that as their main thing. Whereas I don't have the skills from doing it all the time, right? So so what is helpful for my students and parents is that, like, I can answer a lot of the questions, sort of, right? So I can point them in the right direction and answer some of the easy things. But then I try to make sure that all my students are connected up with an actual college admissions advisor. And sometimes I will help students with essays, but I'd prefer it if they worked with an expert. So I'm really glad to have you here so that I can point my students in your direction.
Well, and I'm just going to throw it in. Interestingly, I have clients who aren't just parents and students, but are those college admissions people that you're talking about, because they don't like essays either, right? They're so organized and all those things, but they're like, essays? Oh my God. And so they hire me to work with their entire class of students going through.
That's great.
And it's a lot of fun because now we get partnership where typically it's a person who's kind of a solopreneur. And we get to tag team, and it's a lot of fun for both of us as solopreneurs. Yeah, partnership.
Yeah, I know it's nice. And because of my strengths background, I'm all about lean into what you enjoy doing and what you're good at. And that's the beauty of having this tribe around us.
Oh my God, it makes such a difference, right? When we all can lean into our strengths. So fun. And I guess I'll give a quick background too, just like you did, Bobby, which was I actually started out in this field accidentally. I went as a mom. I have 6 kids, and my oldest was a freshman. And so I went to college night, just like so many other virgin parents, right? Like, yes, I did college, but it's nothing like when I went to school, however many years ago. And going in, and there were all these presenters, and one of them really caught my attention. I went up to him afterwards and I said, I can help you with your marketing. Because I could tell his marketing, it turns out he's totally dyslexic, not his thing. And he heard how many kids I had. He goes, and I can help you with college admissions. And in the end, he ended up hiring me, A, for the marketing, but B, I became the essay writing coach. And so that's where I kind of got my sea legs up at a very well-known, it's been in like Frank Bruni's Where You Go Is Not Who You're Going to Become book. He was interviewed. He's got a 2-page spread in there, because of all that he knows and understood. And that's what, where I was groomed for 4 years as I got to work with all these students, everything from a 17 ACT up through a 36.
Oh, that's right? Great.
That's, or 30, I'm sorry, 32. That's the range. Like we can take, or no, it is 36. We can do all of them because every student, every family is individual. And let's go from there because that's what matters when they're coming in. It's not the average stuff that they're hearing out on the internet and all the blogs. It's, me and my family.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating because, I think it is important for students to know, even if you do have a 36, a perfect score on the ACT, you still have to write a good essay, right?
And you need a really good college list because I know you think Harvard's going to welcome you in, and no, they're not.
100%. And back in the day, I had a 35 ACT and I applied to Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, Duke, TCU, and I think you could see a flaw in that in that list of schools, because I got rejected from the 4 elite schools, got accepted to Duke, and got accepted to TCU with a full scholarship. And I went to TCU on a full scholarship, which I really loved, and it was a great decision. But I left some colleges out of that list, right? And that's being overconfident and people saying, oh, you get to write your own ticket when you have a score like that. It's not true, right?
No,
And yeah,
no.
it's funny.
Hey, I love the story of, are you a big fish in a small pool or a small fish in a big pool?
Seriously.
And so many students, you're number one in the class. That doesn't mean you're going to be number one, and that you're going to get, there's how many high schools in America? Isn't it like 35,000?
Right.
And you think if the class every class valedictorian applies to every Ivy League, there's still not enough room for all of them. These class
Absolutely.
sizes
It is very hard for students to be humble and actually realize that they do need this help. And I was not, and I refused to do it. And that's part of was my error. And so that's why I really love helping students. And part of what I have to do is tell students, okay, look, no, you really do need the help, that's part of it. And so, yeah, that's really funny. I think college admissions must be, I assume, suddenly a harder job now than it was 5 years ago.
I mean, this year with everything going on, like all of us are watching both undergrad and graduate level. I mean, the changes that are coming down the pike and the people that are going to be blindsided, the money going away, how competitive state schools are getting because of the stuff going on in the economy. There's a lot of movement happening. And so this is a reason why when parents first come to me, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about your college list, because there's 2,000 schools. And I know that you know the same 40 schools or whatever that everybody else knows. That doesn't make it a good choice for your son or daughter or your family's financial situation. Just because somebody else from that high school went there does not make it apples and apples for you, right?
Yeah, it's here are the schools my older friends went to, or that I saw play football on TV. That's not how you do it.
No.
And I'll tell you, a lot of us went to college visits with the friend group, right? And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that that's the best way to do it after I've been through it now a couple of times, because I was like, my son ended up going to a college that all of his friend groups went to OU. He ended up going to Alabama. And one of the conversations that he and I had, as I was like, honey, you're going to know when you walk on campus, you're going to know it's your home. And of course he's like, you're an idiot. Blah, blah. I go, okay, whatever. So he went on the college visit to Alabama. He goes, oh, Mom, I think you're right. But that's where I think, kids too, not only is it, do your academics fit? Bobby and I talk a lot about, don't try to go to a college that you're going to struggle the whole way through. Go where you fit in,
That's where you're a small fish, and it does not set you up for long-term career success, which is why you're going to school, not just for a fun 4 years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right. I think parents lose sight of that. I really do. College is there to prepare you for a career. And, and I don't think that people are walking in with that mindset.
No, they're not. So like one of the things I'd be looking at is, oh, you want this major. Let's say it's a student who comes to me for business school. I'm like, great. What kind of business? Oh, I don't know. Okay. So we try and nail that down a little bit. But even if they say, I don't know, just business, great. What schools are you applying to? And they'll be like, and they'll name the state schools that are nearby, or the one and the most prestigious one I'm in North Carolina. So yes, it might be Duke or NC State or Chapel Hill. And I'm like, okay, where's your first internship going to be? And they're like, internship? And I'm like, we want to be strategic here. Let's decide. And so depending on what they tell me, there's at least 2 schools I'm going to put on almost every student's list because of the internships for business school. And they're like, and one of them blows their mind. I'm like, it's a school it's a state you've probably never heard of, and you should be applying there if you're in business. Why? Because if you get a job at one of the 49 of the Fortune 50 companies who has a headquarters there, you have set up your career and don't need an MBA. They're like, oh, so do you guys want to know what it is? Do you want me to name names?
Yeah, for sure.
The University of Arkansas. And
Oh,
why do we want to go to Arkansas? Now you're like, oh, I know why,
For
but most
Walmart?
kids can't figure it out. It's Walmart's headquarters.
Yeah,
And
Bentonville.
49 of the biggest companies in the world have headquarters there. And I've worked with students
Wow.
who got that internship and had didn't have to do the MBA. Just you get a pass, right? It's like when you work for Disney or Google. You get that on your resume, just the door's open.
I did not know that. That is
Oh
fascinating.
yeah. Oh yeah. So that's just one of the places I'm going to go. Of course, not all my students are business students, but let's be strategic
That's amazing.
about it. I mean, I'll throw a second one on. A student
Yeah.
from there who I helped do her initial essays, got a full ride scholarship for all 4 years, gets her internship at Tyson Foods. We've all eaten their chicken somewhere here in America. And toward the end of her junior year, they came to her and said, it seems like you're doing really well. And we heard you want to do an MBA. And she said, yeah, I do. They go, well, we kind of have this invitation only senior year dual enrollment with your first year of master's program.
Right.
So she hired me. We did the resume. We did the essays for that. She got accepted. Her full ride covered her first year of grad school.
Wow.
oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm my only student that's had that.
That's
This
huge.
is where
It is
being
very hard to get
strategic-
money for business.
Of course it is. Oh my
Almost
God.
impossible.
And thinking beyond just who's got the best sorority or the best football team or whatever it is that the family's kind of obsessed about, like what makes sense for this young person and their future? Let's think bigger. So there we go.
Absolutely.
I have never heard a college admissions person have this perspective. This is absolutely, I think you're doing something a little different from what other people are doing. That's really, really impressive. I'm really excited.
Well, and here's what's fun. The one college admissions professional that hires me with all her North Carolina students, I've actually named schools that a couple of her students, she didn't know her students have ended up applying to and going to. Another place where it's just, right, we're professionals. We both have over a decade of experience. There's schools that all of us don't know.
Mhm.
And so for parents to think, oh, we got this, I Googled it. I'm like, oh God.
Well, this is why, right? You don't go just look at U.S. News college report lists. They're
No.
terrible.
What they're
Absolutely
rating
terrible.
on is probably not what your family is rating on.
Right. Absolutely. Garbage. And you don't look at where your family and friends, you go, step one is getting the students to think outside the box and be creative and just look up some colleges they've never heard of, absolutely.
Well, here's the other thing that I think you're getting to, Christy, is now you're basing these decisions on facts as well, which to me is part of the reason why this makes it less stressful, because so many times it's just we'll throw it against the wall, figure out which one we kind of gut feel or whatever, and this gives you facts to say, here are the reasons why this is the right school for you. I mean, you can still make decisions based on gut feel and stuff, but at least you've got the facts in front of you. Yeah.
No, I think it makes a huge difference. And that plus, let's just be honest. How many students that summer before their senior year are the same student in December of senior year? None of them. Most of them have already changed their major at least once. And their interest in schools, I'll use my own youngest daughter as an example. Oh, I am going to UNC Asheville. I'm not applying anywhere else. Okay. By the time she finished applying, she had not even applied there, had changed her major, etc. Right? Like it's just, and as a parent, my number one tip is to say, great. Every time they tell you we've just totally thrown out everything, that's great. And God, I've had to learn this because when I started as a younger mom, I was like, everything is religious. Like you said that we can't move off of that. And yes, we can, because you're moving, I'm going to move too. And let's go research that. Let's explore that in whatever way we can, right? It doesn't mean I need to book the round trip ticket, but let's get on and look at that school. Let's go watch a video of somebody who's doing that work or has that career. There's such nice resources now because of all the online stuff we have, but yeah.
I think that's good.
I was going to say, I'll throw one plug out on my website, easiercollegeessays.com.
Please.
If you want to research schools on your own and do it the 2.0 way, I have a guide on there for free of how to use AI to research schools because it's actually very good at this particular job. And in the guide, even if you've never touched AI, I teach you how to do that. Real simple, free. And then, or if you already know how, jump to part 2. I'm going to give you like 37 things that you probably haven't thought of as criteria for your family, right? This is how we get beyond that US News and World Report that you talked about. Let's get down to those specifics. And sometimes we just need to hear it and we go, oh, and the whole thing got invented a couple of years ago. I had a young man from Vermont and we're getting ready to work on his personal statement. And I'm like, oh my God, he's bored. Like, we haven't even started. I'm like, we're in trouble. So I rewound and I'm like, let's talk about your school list that your mom put together for you. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And this is a smart kid, by the way. He was like a 34 ACT, just to give some context. And I'm like, wait a minute. What if we use AI? And all of a sudden, I'm not kidding, he sat up and the light came on and I was like, whoa. So I played with it. We actually shared with his mom what we did. She kept playing with it. That young man ended up going to a college that I didn't know. I've never toured because it's halfway across the country. His mom didn't know. She was an international who's here in the US. And this young man didn't know. And yet that's where he ended up. Who found it? AI. Because his top criteria were, I need to snowboard, a nonstop flight back to Vancouver, entrepreneurship program, and physical. He wanted to open a gym. Gyms. He's thinking big when I get all done. So he wanted not physical therapy, but whatever, muscle, run around, that kind of stuff. And he found the right school for him. Kind of cool,
I've got
right?
to know what is the school?
Denver.
Oh, okay.
University of Denver, which is interesting. I have family in Denver. I mean, I know
University of Denver, is that right?
Yeah. So it's a private school.
I've had some students who've gone there. Yeah, it's a private school, and it is. And no one ever said they were students who are like, I just want to snowboard all the time, but also get a good education, and it's got a great reputation. Yeah, absolutely fascinating.
And I'll tell you what I took away from that, Christy, is this. For parents, it's like, let's not be afraid to allow kids to, put their personal things that they want in that list. Right? Because that's what's been successful. Well, and we all know that one of the biggest challenges these kids have is not making friends. Well, guess what? If he's on the snowboarding club or heading up and everybody's, tailgating up there,
potentially, right?
He's finding his people. Right. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think one thing that kind of ties this all together is, when you mentioned what the thing that gets the student to lean forward and their eyes light up, right? It's what Kristen worked so hard with her students, finding that thing, right? Same thing with me and my students. I'll have parents and they're like, oh, my student doesn't seem very interested, right? And I say, well, you've just got to get them into that first session with me. And then my job is to show them some strategies that surprise them and get them interested. If I can't get them interested, then we're in trouble, right? But the interest has to come from them. And that's the same thing, right? And so you're also looking for the thing that gets them interested. It doesn't matter how much the parent is interested. And it is about the student finding out who they are, and students don't know who they are. They don't know how to articulate it. And that's the same thing with essays is, that's why they all write the same three, one of the same 3 essays, on the first draft. And you have to say, no, right? Don't write about, your church trip or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Write about yourself,
Yeah.
So this is amazing. I'm so glad. And I hope that my students will, I'm definitely going to put this in a message to my students that those who aren't connected up with college advisor already should go and talk to you sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah. No, I love to have the strategy conversation. I mean, nobody really wants to talk about doing an essay other than how do I get my kid to do it? So I did a couple of years ago, develop something that I call Complete Your Essay in a Weekend. And we start off exactly what you're talking about with, let's nail that topic, because if we don't have the right topic, how are we ever going to write an essay? And it needs to be the topic that only you can write on. And one of the things we cover is, here's 10 topics you are never going to write on. And and they're actually surprised by a couple of them. But they've come from, a lot of experience, and there are always exceptions to the rule, but you're going to have to be a killer writer and hit it just right to actually be able to knock that topic out of the park, because it's been done 10,000 times before. And how do we do it individually and uniquely and let you shine through?
What are those
So-
two topics? What are those main two topics, Christy, that you talk about?
There's more than two, but actually the church trip I put pretty darn low because it's hard to say anything. And being super Christian, Muslim, whatever, fill in the blank, right? Unless you're applying to schools of that denomination,
Sure.
we're just not going to go there. You don't know who's reading.
You don't know who's going to read your essay. Right.
And they're human, right? They are human. And let's just, it's like we don't talk about certain things at a wedding. We're not going to talk about an essay. And another one is like anything that's self-harm.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, that one's come up multiple times.
Yeah, I've had one of those this year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, look, this was a part of your story and a part of your chapter and a very big deal to you, but you are much more than some of these things that happened out here, But like, here's one of my favorite ones of what to write about. And this was, so I'm in the Charlotte area. And so anybody who's local, and I've actually had students fly in and do the weekend with me. Most of them, we do it online, but some will come to my house. And this young man is sitting here and he's like, I could write about this little sports thing or that little whatever. And I'm like, I can tell there's no spark, right? Kristen, the spark, you do too, right? All of us. So I'm like, okay, what else? And he goes, well, I did start my own business last year, and goes on to rattle off putting together a photo shoot, setting up the website, getting a collaboration with, I'm like, dude, there's one essay for you to write. He goes, wait, I can write on that?
Right.
Oh my God, there's nothing else we need to talk about here. I mean,
I had the exact same one. This
happen regularly. The most obvious thing in the world to me has never crossed their mind.
Right. Exactly. Because they think, oh, that's something I actually like, so I can't write about it. And you're like, no.
Picture myself here. Yes. Oh my gosh. So just giving them the perspective of what's important. It comes up on the activity list too, because that falls under the writing thing. I do something called the activity list lab. One of my smartest students this year we did his lab. He comes back 2 weeks later, goes, Christy, I forgot a couple of things. And I'm like, oh, sure. It was probably volunteering at the church picnic. No, this one became number 2 and number 3 on his list.
Yeah, the things he spends the most time on. Yeah.
But really important ones.
Right,
and the biggest distinction the students don't realize. So here's another young man I had this year, 8 years of club baseball, all these accomplishments in baseball. I'm like, wait, are you trying to get a baseball scholarship? He goes, no. I go, are you going to play club baseball in college? No. I'm like, great. It's at the bottom of your list. Yeah. It's not number 1, right? Another place, like the kids what's front of mind for them from a strategic standpoint, where I'm thinking as a college admissions officer and your coach, like, no. And here's why, Kristen, to your point, like, what would I say to him? Is that was that adult led or was that led by you? That right there is the biggest distinction we can make, because if it was adult led, it actually goes down, 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 down.
Yep.
But if you did it, even if it was just for a day or two, it's probably going to go up top, because it actually shows your drive, your commitment, your
leadership,
interest, right? Yes. All that. And that's what matters. And they're like, oh, I thought it was the National Honor Society. I'm like, yeah, no.
Well,
America is in there.
I always say it's not special. I'm like, I know you feel like it is special, but it's just not special because so many kids are doing it.
Right.
But when you can find something, that they get lit up about and they're willing to do when nobody else is willing to do it, no brainer. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's fun. It's fun to have these conversations. And I think one of the most important things that families do not know is that 1 in 4 students has professional help. And so I tell any of my families, look, we're not competing against 100% of the kids for this space. We're competing against 25%.
Yeah.
That's it. And maybe less, because professional help can be the testing, professional help can be in all these different areas. But that professional help is the difference between a yes and a no many times. And it's not because we're doing the work for them. It's because it's just giving them that extra leg up. It's like putting makeup on. You don't go to prom in your whatever Saturday morning schleppy clothes. You just don't.
Mhm.
And how do you show up? How do you get that makeup on? We can help you.
Well, and
Show up with the best you
I think the biggest thing is we show them where to start. And I think that's the hardest thing is people are just going, I don't know how to do this. So they're grasping all over the place. And we give them that foundation to be able to go, let's start here. And then the rest of the things fall into place.
Mhm.
And it just makes everything so much more clear on what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're going to finish. And they feel much calmer, about the process.
Yeah, getting that roadmap is huge. You're exactly right. And it's taking them from the generalized information to specific to you and your situation.
Yep. So we couldn't tell if you were still talking, Christy, because we had one of those spinners going on. We're like, is she there? So, but this has been great. I mean, number one, I always love your enthusiasm. Number two, we speak the same language and have the same just thoughts on how to help these kids and how just special and unique each of them are. And that they just sometimes just need a little bit of a handhold to get things rolling.
And from someone who isn't mom.
Oh, for sure.
I mentioned at the beginning, the college planner I used to work for, he would say to the parents in an initial meeting, this was hilarious. He'd be like, look, I'm sorry to tell you, your kids think your IQ is half of what it is. And it's not going to come up to full speed till they have their own first child, at which point they're going to think it's actually higher than what it is. And I was like, oh my gosh, doesn't that sum it up? It's like we need that trustworthy adult that the parents can speak to and the student can, because it's like the student can hear what one of us would say.
Absolutely.
And the parents.
It's amazing. You can say the same thing that the parents said, but they believe you. Yeah.
Oh my God. So true. 100%. I've had parents be like, well, it's not fair. I'm like, hey, it happens for my kids too.
It's just
I have my people. We're not immune to it. It's just the way they're built as they are differentiating from their parents. They are meant to do this as part of their getting ready to move out of the house in a year or two.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's natural.
That's it.
Well, this has been amazing.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Please take advantage. Reach out to Sherry or Christy. Reach out to Christy. If you've got essay questions, of course, you always know Bobby and I are more than willing to pick up our phone and talk to you as well. So let's just, make this easier for you. So,
absolutely. Go visit easiercollegeessays.com and get that free advice, and then you'll remember to then work with Christy. So, all righty.
I will see you next